The utility stitches of the Bernina are really good to know how to use them. I'm just going to go ahead and show you a lot of the ones that I go to for a variety of different techniques, starting with stitch number 5. Stitch number 5 is a securing stitch, and you'll notice by the way it's pictured, it looks like it has a little forward, back, forward, and that's exactly how it's going to stitch. As you stitch, it's going to go ahead and take about 5 or 6 stitches forward, and then 5 or 6 stitches back, and then go ahead and sew all the way to the end of your seam. What I have not had to do is touch and hold my reverse button to get the locking stitches. Now here's how you want to end it. Get to the end of your fabric, touch your reverse button one time, that's it, and then sew until your machine stops. It's going to go back in the exact same holes, come forward, and stop for you. So what you have is pre-programmed locking stitches at the beginning and end of your sequence. What's nice is when you end it, then it's ready to start again, and you don't have to do anything other than start to sew. Stitches forward, stitches back, and takes off. If you want a shorter line of stitching, just touch it whenever you need it, and let it finish the sequence so it's easy to use next time you start. That's how I love that stitch. Anytime I've got my hands full of projects, that I'll usually do, and then I have exactly the same amount of stitches to lock every single time. The next stitch we're going to use is going to be a triple straight stitch. I'm going to show you, and it's stitch number 6. It's pictured as a straight stitch, and I'm going to sew on the bias of some denim here. So I'm folding it on the diagonal. And there's a reason, because it is actually going to stretch when it's done. This is going to go ahead and take 2 stitches forward, 1 stitch back. If you want it longer, you can make the stitch longer. Make a little longer there. You're going to love the way this looks when we're done here. It's going to look like you have taken the time to use top stitching thread. Do you notice how all the stitches go back in the exact same hole? So first off, it does stretch. So this would be a great place on the back seat of a pair of pants in the crotch area where you need to reinforce something, but you don't want to have it so you're just stitching 3 times and having stitching that can actually pull apart. This stitch is stitched reinforced, and so when you stretch it out, it's not going to pop or stretch out of shape there. Another thing I love to use this for is top stitching. Any place that I'm going to need some extra reinforcement, like where my handles might come into a bag, I'll stitch or switch over to this stitch, sew the triple straight stitch right beside it, and really help hold that all in. And it just looks too like I've used thicker thread and I have it. Now thicker thread only comes in, like top stitching thread only comes in, 20 colors or so. But what if you wanted hot pink or a variegated thread? All you have to do is put the spool of color of your choice on and stitch it out. Now you'll notice if you look at your stitch number 6, there's a picture of a zigzag next to it. All you need to do is add width. So take your stitch width button, send it, I'm going to go up to 4 here, you can go all the way up to 5, and it'll do the same triple stitch, but in a zigzag formation. You can set this for any width or length that you'd like. Really looks fun. Also with the variegated thread, kind of looks rick-rack-like. So if you want to use that decoratively, all you have to do is add width to get that particular stitch. Next, we're going to go to a super stretch stitch. That's stitch number 9. So anytime you're sewing on some knit fabrics and you don't have a serger, this is a great stitch. I almost call it like a lightning bolt stitch because it's stitching kind of down and back at an angle. But what's nice is when I'm done stitching, it will stretch as needed. So any fabric that you need to make sure that a straight stitch isn't going to pop apart, this is one stitch that you can use. So it's going to look like a straight stitch, but have the give that's needed. It's really easy, plus the give that you see there. Next, a double overlock stitch. That is stitch number 8 here. You can do this for a variety of things. You can go ahead and set this so it stitches on the edge of your fabric, and it's going to go off the edge. This foot, actually, I should look at the screen. This one is the one that actually has you go to stitch foot number 2. Let's talk about foot number 2. It comes with your machine, and it has a little tiny pin in it. See this pin kind of underneath the right-hand side? Your stitch is going to jump over that. So as we go ahead and set that up, just kind of lower your presser foot on. It'll click right onto that bar. Yes, you can put the thread underneath the foot into the back like you're used to. It just kind of slips into that little pin area and goes out there. All right, now with this stitch, what's going to happen on lighter weight fabric is that little pin is going to help you not get the fabric kind of pulled down or curled under as you stitch. Part of this stitch, you're going to notice it's going to form a seam on the left side of the stitch. It's also very easy to guide. You notice I'm just running the raw edge of the fabric right along the edge of the foot, which is just a little beyond the pin. So the needle's almost going off into air as I'm stitching. It really is going to help secure those edges so they don't unravel any further. Next, when you stop, the last stitch is still on that pin. So if you pull to this side, it's going to be held. But if you pull straight back, the last stitch is released off the pin, and then you have your sewn line. Let's open it up. There's your seam, all overlocked and stitched all in once. Another stitch that's similar to that is actually your very overlock stitch, stitch number 3. So we're going to take some fabric here. I'm going to go ahead and I've cut a little opening like a neckline. I'm going to take another piece of fabric and fold it in half, wrong sides together. Actually, let me flip this over so I got the same sides all looking at me here. Flip this over, put this in, just line up the raw edges to get started here. And take a few stitches, once again, guiding this stitch to go right off the edge. But this time, I'm going to take the fabric that is the ribbing and gently hold it in front of my foot and stretching it just a little bit. Also, I'm going to lengthen this one out just because this fabric is a little fluffier. Maybe not that far. I'm about 1.5 right now. There we go. And notice that I'm just kind of turning the fabric underneath to the foot as I go, holding the ribbing kind of in front of me and also stretching it. All right, how that works. And as you can see, it goes around the edge, forms the seam, and also has the give that you're looking for. Very easy to do. Love that stitch. That's one of my go-to stitches for stretchy fabrics.